Are we live? The broadcast is live. We are back. Oh my goodness, everybody, thank you so much for your patience. When you're live, we can't help it when there's technical issues. And here's what happened. There's so many of you joining that it broke the internet. Like it literally cracked all the connections that we had. So we're going to be doing this a little bit differently. Uh, yes, here we go. Let's go. So let me just make sure. I'm going to check the chat before I get going, just to make sure that we're live and you all can hear me, okay? So please bear with me just a moment. We can hear you. Team Sally Beauty says they can. Yes! Okay, let's get back to blonding. So if you are just joining, welcome, welcome, welcome. Again, my name is Gregory Patterson, celebrity stylist based in New York City, coming to you from my small studio apartment. And I'm a styling ambassador with Sally Beauty. I've been with Sally Beauty now for 7 years. I came to Sally Beauty by way of Project Runway. I was the lead hair guy on seasons 14 and 50, representing Team SB. So that's a little bit about my background. I'm a crazy fun hairstylist. I love all things hair, all types, textures, everything that we can do with it. And today with DIY University, we are going to get into the basics of blonding. So why this was so important for me to kick off this incredible DIY University experience was because we're heading into spring and summer, so everybody wants to go a little bit lighter, right? But there are a lot of questions when it comes to blonding, and there's always that kind of that teeter-tottering moment of, should I go to a pro or can I do this at home? Some moments, I will say, as a pro licensed stylist myself, it's better left to the pros, right? But I'm going to give you some techniques that you can use today and get better results at home. I'm also going to share with you my favorite products to achieve these lightening experiences at home. And I'll share with you some of the things that we do as pros so that you can get better results at home, okay? So grab those pens, grab that paper. Let's get into blonding. There will be a Q&A after this experience. So after I finish sharing all my information with you and the technique, we will have some Q&A. So go ahead and write any questions that you have if they come up for you, okay? So first things first, going blonde. One of the most important things to identify when going blonde is kind of your hair story, right? So anytime a client sits in my chair and they want a chemical service, the first thing I'm going to do with them is have a consultation. And this is important to understand where you've been, where you are right now, and where you want to go. So these moments are really important for you when you're thinking of going blonde and when you're looking for the products to put in your cart at Sally Beauty, right? So let's first start with that consultation. And I would really encourage all of you to do this consultation at home. You can replay this video if you want, or hey, maybe I'll even create like a little consultation form that we could post up somewhere for you to be able to identify all of these moments. So first things first, where are you right now? Do you have existing hair color on your hair? This is really going to be important information when going blonde, because if you have existing hair color, the only way for you to go lighter is by using lightener. And all too many times, some people will grab like your favorite blonde color because you want to be that color, and then you don't get those results because the rule, the theory is color does not lift color, okay? The only way to lift color is either A, strip it using a color remover, or lighten it using a lightening powder or cream, okay? So where are you right now? Then where do you want to go? What type of blonde do you want to be? Okay. Do you want to be a warm blonde, those golden, that buttery blonde? Do you want to be a neutral blonde? It's not too warm, not too golden, but it's not so ashy, titanium, platinum, violet based, right? Or do you want to be a cool blonde? Those are your cool tones, those ice-like blondes. And it's important to understand what type of blonde you want to be so that as you're lightening and as you're shopping, you'll know what to put into your cart so that you can make sure if any unwanted tones are available, you can cancel those out, okay? And lastly, during that consultation, it's so important to identify your hair health. Yes, hair health matters because this lets you know how many stages you might have to take to get to your desired lightening level, right? So if you have super healthy hair, virgin hair, if you don't have any color on your hair, the porosity is perfect, the strength is perfect, the moisture balance is perfect, you might be able to take it up a notch and might be able to achieve the results in 1 or 2 sessions. But protecting the integrity of your hair is my number one goal, which is why I wanted to share this blonding time with you, okay? So after you've identified what type of blonde you want to be, warm, cool, or neutral, you have to have an understanding of what your hair level is, okay? So here's a little shade chart right here. And it's important to understand what shade you're at so that you know what's going to happen as you lighten. Now, this is really important to understand because let's say you are a level 1, which is the darkest of the dark, right? And let's say you want to lift your hair 1 level, 2 levels, 3 levels. It's important to understand this underlying contributing pigment so that if you wanted to be a warm blonde, you're not shopping for any of the ash toned toners. Does that make sense? If you wanted to be a warm blonde, you have that existing warmth in here. So when you're shopping for anything to deposit or tone with or put back into the hair to add that shine and a little bit of tone back to it, you're able to play with the existing contributing pigment. And this also lets you know when you've reached your limit with lightening your hair so that you maintain the integrity of your hair and you don't push it beyond anything that you don't need to achieve those results. Does that make sense? So write down identifying what level hair you are, okay? If you don't know how to find this, when you go into Sally Beauty, we have color swatch books. And you will find, even on the shelves, you will find the existing colors so you can kind of hold your hair, your natural color. Hold your natural color up to one of those to identify your shade, okay? Now, also with hair health, it's super, super important to do your treatments before. And I know you might be thinking like, Gregory, do those really work? Yes. It is so important to maintain the health of your hair and the integrity so that you can do those lightening levels with maintaining the integrity of your hair. So product little plug right here. This is a moisture conditioning mask. I love using moisturizing masks because if we add a toner after we lighten hair, toners are protein based. That's a strength. You didn't know you were getting tickets to the gun show today too, right? Just kidding. Toners have protein, so that's going to add some strength. So I would love for you to do moisturizing treatments first to build up that other element of hair. That other essential part is moisture, which gives us the elasticity, that bending and that flexing, okay? So make sure you do your treatments first. Okay, so let's say you have existing color on your hair right now. The only way that you can lighten hair is through the use of lighteners. Now, these are the Ion Color Brilliance. This is the powder lightener, and this is the cream lightener. Now, they both do the same exact thing. It merely comes down to preference of the texture that's developed when you mix it in the bowl. There are some times when I like to use a cream lightener. I just feel like, and it could be me being crazy, but I feel like it is creamier and it's a little more juicier. I love to use cream lighteners when I'm doing an all over platinum, where I need it to stay a little more creamy and a little more hydrated, okay? I will also go over some technique with you today, so stay tuned. Don't worry, I got you with the technique. Okay, so now let's say that you don't have any color on your hair right now, right? There's another way to achieve blonde, and that's with a high lift, right? So you see HLB, that's a high lift blue, okay? Here's an HLN, that's a high lift natural. And you see, well, this is backwards. And then you see right there, HLV, this is a high lift violet. So if you have virgin hair, what a high lift does is it has double the levels of ammonia, okay? It also has color inside the formulation. And that V, that violet background, is going to cancel out any unwanted yellow tones, okay? And HLB, that is a high lift blue, and that's going to cancel out any of your orange tones. So if you don't have existing color on your hair, don't use bleach. Use a high lift. A high lift is a beautiful way to get incredible conditioning lift and a positive tone so that you can just do one process, right? Now let's talk about the color wheel. And I know I'm moving through a lot of information quick. That's why we are going to save this video, and you can come back to this as a reference for your blonding. But I want you to have all the information so that you can get better blondes at home, okay? So I want to talk a moment about the color wheel, okay? So let's say that you are that level 1, which is dark brown, almost black, right? And let's say that you want like 5 levels of lift. So it's important to understand that at 5 levels of lift from level 1, as the hair begins to lighten, you're going to notice it starts to decolorize. Now, what happens in the decolorization is the underlying contributing pigments, all of those little molecules and pigments that make up your delicious chocolate brown hair, are going to start to be exposed. It's almost like an M&M, okay? And that M&M, let's say it's a blue M&M, holds all of the color for that blue tone. And then there's 3 red M&Ms hanging out. And together, those red and blue elements contribute to that delicious chocolate brown color that you have, right? But what happens as you lighten hair, all of those shells on the M&M get cracked off and broken, and those pigments are exposed. So it's important to understand where you're starting, and as you lighten the hair, what happens. So I'm going to start right here at level 1. The underlying contributing pigment is blue. Now, if I go up, let me go this way, 1 shade, 2 shades, 3 shades, 4 shades, 5 shades, because the ion lightener can lift up to 5 shades, right? But what happens is now I've exposed the red-orange pigment that is in my hair. If I want to be a neutral blonde, we've determined this during our consultation, I need to find a toner. This is so crazy. I need to find a toner that is exactly opposite the color wheel, okay? The reason is blue-green will cancel red-orange. Now, you might be thinking, I ain't putting blue-green on my hair. But if you have that red-orange background, in order to neutralize it, you need to cancel that out, okay? You with me? So let's play this game again. So let's say we went up even lighter, right, into the orange. I really want to talk about the difference between yellow and orange right now, because a lot of us know about purple and violet-based shampoos, right? We see them all over TikTok and Instagram. We see hairdressers dumping it all over the hair at the bowl. And they're doing that when the exposed pigment is yellow or yellow orange, okay? If you do purple on top of yellow, but the exposed pigment is actually, this is so crazy, it's backwards. But if the exposed pigment is actually orange, you're still going to be left with that brass tone, and you're going to look at it and be like, ugh, this isn't what I wanted. So it's really important to understand those contributing pigments at the level that you rise up to, so that when you tone, you can find the appropriate toner. So 10 is going to be the level. That's what the number represents. 10 is the level of hair color that you are at or have achieved or want to take it to. Platinum blonde is level 10, whitest of the white, okay? So you also have to find the contributing pigment to tone and either enhance, neutralize, or contribute to where you're at when it comes to blonde. You with me? So let's say you have yellow, you need purple to neutralize that. Let's say you reached a yellow level and you want that really buttery, delicious golden blonde, then you can tone with the gold series, with a G series, okay? So make sure you are looking for that appropriate level. Now, when lightening the hair, it's also important to be mindful of when to take the product off. With a high lift hair color, okay? With a high lift hair color, it is crucial, it is critical, you hear me? It is crucial, it is critical to let your high lift colors completely develop for the entire manufacturer's directions recommendation. So let's say that recommended time is 45 minutes. It is a must to let it set on and develop for the full 45 minutes. Here's why. As the hair and the ammonia is starting to crack open the cuticle and open up the cuticle so that pigment can get in there and wiggle into the cortex to start to swim through and disperse all those color molecules, it takes a moment to do that. And that's why you need developer. Developer is the energy. One of our Sally crew members, Emily Boleyn, she just made the most insanely delicious video on developers and the energy that is brought to each one of them. So I want you to check out that video. It's genius, okay? And when it comes to developer, I want you to think of each number as energy. The more energy that you use, the more contributing pigments exposed. Why and how does it do that? It's because the cuticle gets opened up even more and the little swimmers can get in there and find more of that pigment, okay? So when you're working with a high lift blonde, it blows the cuticle open. It allows you to get into all that pigment. But remember that existing little color at the end, that N or that V or that B, what happens is that color that exists at the end is protected. It's encapsulated so that it can get into the cuticle, get into the cortex, and it nestles in and finds a cozy little place to set until it's time to do its job. Think of it like Destiny's Child. There's got to be a Michelle, there's got to be a Kelly, and there's got to be a Beyonce, okay? Beyonce comes out and she opens the show. She comes out, whoo, falls out of the ceiling, right? That is your developer. That is saying, girls, let's get ready to party. Then comes in Kelly. Kelly gets under the cuticle and starts getting into that cortex, okay? And then you hear Michelle come in and she's like, girl, we got to change the color of this hair for a minute. That's how it works. There's a component and every little bit plays its part, right? But Michelle, she's going to chill in the back for a minute until it's her time to go and sing. That's that developer and that color molecule that's hanging out there waiting for its chance to sing. It happens at the end and it bursts open with that blue or that violet so that it can cancel at the last minute that unwanted tone. And then you have to let it shut off. Okay. So it's going to run out of power and encapsulate again and remain in the hair, giving you that tone that's available at the end of a high lift experience. Now, if you're not using high lift and you choose to use lightener, that's where toners come in. So you're going to have control over the tone and you're telling the hair when it's going to be toned. You understand the difference there? So it's really important to know that because all too often you'll use a high lift or you'll use any color for that matter. Maybe you have super, super gray hair and you're like, oh gosh, it's getting dark. You need to let it run the entire time because the inside of that color is designed to burst and all those encapsulated molecules have a release at a certain time. It's scientific. It's designed to burst at different times, okay? You hear me? You picking up what I'm putting down? Okay. So that is the rundown, the 411. Hey, Mary J. That's the 411 on your color options, your choices of going lighter, and what you need to know. So if you have color on your hair, use lightener or bleach. One more caveat when it comes to bleach. Bleach, there is going to be a manufactured suggested time, but not all hair is created equal, and not all of our hair porosity, moisture is created equal, and we may have existing color, right? So with bleach, it's going to be important to be mindful and watch it. So checking it every 5 minutes is a nice rule of thumb. And once you see that level that you have achieved, let's say you want to get to this level, okay? Let's say you want to get to a nice, delicious level 7. And the last time you checked your foil, it goes, what number is that? It goes to a level 5. So you still see a little bit of orange. So it's important to let it set to break through to the level 6, expose those underlying pigments, get to a level 7. But I want to tell you something crazy that happens when you're working either with foils or bleach. It lies to you. It's like your ex that you just ditched. Like it lied to you and you got to kick it to the curb, right? You're going to look at it and you're going to think, that's the color I want right there. Let me tell you something that I've learned along the way. If that's the color you want right then, right there, let it go for 5 more minutes. I don't know what happens, but when you add water to that hair, when it's exactly what you want, it all of a sudden goes darker when you rinse it out. And you're like, dang, I should have left it on for 5 more minutes. Now, I'm not talking let it go way beyond what you need to. I'm just talking about once you think you're ready, let that little intuition kick in. Once you think you're ready to rinse it, let it go for 5 more minutes, okay? Then you can go in and control the tone at that level. So that's a little pro tip for you. Hey, yeah! One more thing I want to talk about when going light, and then we'll get into technique, is this absolute perfection. I rarely, ever, ever, ever will do hair color, especially lightening, without using a bond multiplier. Now, there's plenty of bond multipliers on the market. I love the Ion Color Brilliance. It is an additive that you add to your color or your lightener after you have mixed it, okay? So mix your formulation in the bowl, and then you're going to add your desired amount. The instructions are on the back, okay? One thing to remember when using an additive is, let's say that you wanted to use 20 volume with your bleach, okay? So I have 20 pieces of energy working with my lightener. Whenever you add a bond multiplier, it drops the level of your developer. So it takes that 20 volume and all of a sudden dilutes it to a level 10. Okay, so that's super, super important to remember. So you might not want to use 30 volume in your hair per se, but if you're using a bonding multiplier, it will drop that 30 volume down to a 20. Does that make sense? So when shopping for a blonde multiplier or a bond multiplier, level up because it will dilute your developer down a level, okay? I highly recommend these when going blonde, specifically as the cuticle and the cortex is open. It adds bonds to the hair, protein bonds, amino acids, strength in the inside, the cortex of your hair, so that the integrity, the elasticity, and the strength is maintained as you lift the cuticle open and lighten the level of hair, okay? So that's really important to know because that makes the difference between yellow or orange hair. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so I am going to move on here. We are going to get into some application. I want to give you some things that I believe are definitely doable and achievable at home. And then I want to also have like a real talk about the things that I would suggest leaving to the pros, okay? So first things first is, let's say you have zero hair color on your hair and you want to go light. Let's say you want to go all over platinum, which, real talk right now, I've never bleached my hair. I want to go full on blonde and like do a fun pastel color. I'm a little scared, so maybe if somebody would do it with me, you know, let's go light together. Who knows? Let's have fun. But when you're working with your hair, okay, and going blonde, in order to achieve those pro results, you've got to kind of work like the pros do at home. So this means dividing your hair up into 4 quadrants. I just have chopsticks here right now, but these clips are absolutely fantastic and they serve the same purpose. I just wanted to use these as demonstration. It kind of helps a little bit in the contrasting with the darker hair tone, okay? So when we are going lighter without color, let's say this is a virgin application. One of the biggest things that I see that goes awry quickly are hot roots, okay? So you end up using your lightener starting at the scalp first. Now, here's why that is going to be no bueno for you, okay? Hold on, let me get, come on, girl. We decided her name is Barb and Star. So this is Barb. So when going blonde, I hope you can see that there. When going blonde, I want you to be mindful of your body temperature, okay? Because your body temperature is going to affect the way your hair color lifts. It sounds crazy, but it's true. So that's why when you're in the salon, you could see hairdressers putting a halo around you, or you might go under heat, or they may use a diffuser from the blow dryer. Your body will produce so much natural heat, specifically when you're close to the scalp. So to avoid hot roots, where the root is brighter than the ends, here's how you need to apply. If you don't have any existing color and you're just going for a global application, what I want you to do is stay about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch off of the scalp. Do you see that? So I am using my brush and just tapping, leaving out this zone here. It's important to leave that out because if I were to paint the lightener right close to the scalp, what's going to happen is this zone is going to get so hot, so quick, and it's going to develop quicker. So let's say you have that 30 volume energy in with your formulation, then you add on top your body temperature, it is going to develop so much quicker. So I want you to stay 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch off, okay? Now, the other really important thing to remember is when you are applying lightener one after the other, let me go this way, there we go. I want you to use 1/4 to 1/2 inch sections. Do you see how thin that is? I want your section, your subsection, to be thin enough that if you were to place a piece of paper underneath or a newspaper, you would be able to read through it. Why that is so important when you're applying is even saturation. Even saturation is going to be critical when it comes to those pro results at home, ensuring that all of the hair gets saturated exactly the same. Does that make sense? So I'm staying 1/4 to 1/2 inch off the scalp, knowing that I have natural heat coming up from the head and it will begin to lighten. Once you have completed your entire application, then it is time to go in to the roots. So after you've applied all the way from here down the hair shaft, once it's completed, then you're going to go in and start tapping at the root, okay? Then you're gonna let this process and catch up. You will see it will catch up quickly and it will avoid that banding or that line of demarcation that you get when going lighter, okay? So that is virgin application, no hair color, all that good stuff. Now let's take it in the back to show you another section. And this is going to be, and I'm literally taking these moments from when I've spent time in the Sally Beauty stores, or I've had little DMs saying, oh my gosh, my hair didn't lighten evenly, okay? If you have existing color on your hair, if you have existing color on your hair and you have brand new growth here, you are not going to apply the bleach to the new growth first. What I want you to do is taking those 1/4 to 1/2 inch partings, and wherever you have the darkest color, let's say you have existing color right here to right here, I want you to just apply that lightener to the color first, okay? You can completely saturate it and let it set. Avoid the ends and avoid the base. Go through and work section by section, getting the darkest pieces of your hair first with that existing color so that that lightener can begin to break up the dye molecules and any unactivated pigment that is left in the hair will reactivate and start to wiggle and come alive again. Let this really process before you move on to your root and towards your ends, okay? So that's super important to, again, avoid that line of demarcation and to break through that existing hair color evenly. One thing here, I'm gonna check the chat really quick, okay? Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's my application for if you have existing color and you want to go lighter. Now, keep in mind, if you have existing color, you cannot use a high lift because high lift is technically color, and the rule of thumb, the theory is color does not lift color. So if you can remember that, color doesn't lift color, you will always be guided to the right zone, either on the Sally Beauty app or sallybeauty.com or when you're in the store. So if you have existing color, you can color strip it with a color remover, or you can use lightener, okay? I would recommend using a lightener. It's more controllable and you can see what's happening visually, and you can go in and apply more if you need to. Color removers to me are a little iffy. It's like a guess every time. And for me, they exist a lot of that warmth and that that pigment. I don't know what happens. It just makes it warmer and brighter. So I would like to use a lower volume, less energy developer with lightener and do a slow and gentle, steady rising of the hair color. You with me on that? Okay, let's go to the other zone, is number 3. So when we are trying to achieve balayage at home or any foil highlighting, this is where I would leave some of that to the pros. Now, some of it, absolutely, you can do at home. Absolutely. If you have a friend, it's even easier, okay? But it is definitely doable. It is definitely achievable. And let me tell you what I would do at home and what I would leave to the pros. Any hardcore specific foil highlights, like traditional foil highlights, where you need to get to the scalp and you need all those highlights perfect, leave it to the pros. Leave it to the pros, okay? Leave it to the pros minus a little money piece in front, okay? But if you're doing a full head of highlights, leave it to the pros. You with me on that? Okay, pinky swear? Pinky swear? Cool. Okay, now, if you wanted to do some, let's say, ombre pieces, let's say you wanted to do some balayage pieces, where balayage is the French term for freehand painting, definitely doable because we're not really needing to work towards the scalp. What we're looking to achieve is just more brightness on the ends with a gradual lift, like it's been sun-kissed, okay? Like it's lived a little bit longer in the hair and it's just been exposed to the elements. Now, when using these techniques at home, what I would recommend is starting from the bottom and working your way to the top, okay? I would recommend starting bottom to top first because you're going to be painting down and you can lay your hair down, okay? So almost think of it like building a house. You're going to first build the foundation, then you're going to put up the walls, which are the sides, then you're going to put the roof on top, okay? So work bottom to top. When you are using any slicing techniques, larger chunks of hair, I want you to follow that rule of thumb that you can see through it. So 1/4 to a 1/2 inch subsections will give you the opportunity to evenly saturate all the hair. So let's say you are doing a teasy technique where you're just adding some cushion at the base. The reason why we do that teasy technique, adding cushion, is once it's all combed out, it adds a diffusing of that color. So you get zero line of demarcation, and it is the most flawless, seamless blend. So then what you're going to do is take your lightener, okay, and you're going to paint it, really paint it. And the only application is on top of the hair, okay? Then with the bristles and the product that's left, we are going to use, sorry about the lighting there, we're going to use a sweeping technique, painting up towards that cushion, okay? You see that there? A sweeping technique, painting up. And then I'm going to go on the opposite side and sweep up. And let me put a little darkness under here so you can see that. So you see that I've created a V section with most of the product saturated at the very, very end. I like to work in a V section because it concentrates the brightness towards the ends and diffuses and softens all the way up. Let this completely process. You can also encapsulate this into a foil if you like. That foil will keep that moisture in and let that lightener work longer, okay? That's also why I really love using a cream lightener. I just feel like by nature, those conditioning creamier elements are in there. And it's a really beautiful way to use for your freehand painting techniques, okay? Now, lastly, I want to share with you, when you are doing this at home, okay, I want you to start everything at the bottom first, okay? All too often, what I see, especially like anything DIY, is when you're at home, I think it's easiest for us to look in the mirror and just start applying on top. But here's what happens when you work that way, when you're doing it at home yourself. Too many elements are in the way, and there's a lot of moving of the hair. So if you are going lighter and you're using lightener, bleach, that you absolutely do not want to overlap, it's going to be critical to move the hair as little as possible. So when you are going lighter at home, this is so weird, excuse me, okay? When you're going lighter at home, I want you to start at the bottom. Now, it might feel and look a little funky because when you go to the salon, you see your stylist starting at the top, and that's because we have a top-down approach. But for you to get better hair color at home, whether you are using bleach or lightener, or even just retouching with permanent color, I want you to start right at the bottom, okay? Start your application there, and then take subsequent sections going down, working your way up to the top like so. Then you can let it set and let it rest. And as it begins to develop, you're not moving it back down, okay? Lastly, I will say when it comes to technique, always, always, always cross-check your work. Always cross-check your work because there might be some little holidays left in the hair. And what I like to do when I cross-check my work is go the opposite direction of how you painted. So if I painted horizontally this way, I am going to cross-check diagonal vertical, okay? So what you're doing is you're just lifting it in the opposite direction, exposing any elements that you may have lost while you are doing your application as you're working horizontally, okay? So those are my pro tips for going blonde. Those are my best practices for going blonde at home. When it comes to lightening, remember that color doesn't remove color. Bleach is the best way to break through color and the best way to lighten, and is oftentimes much more gentle than even using a high lift. Think of your developers, as in Emily's incredible video, as energy. How much energy do I want to bring to this so that it'll expose that contributing pigment, okay? Let me check my chat here. Okay, time to answer questions. Here we go. Okay, so after you rinse everything out, number one, a color sealer is going to lock in everything. It's going to close the cuticle. It's a lower pH. The cuticle is going to close down. It's going to lock in all that beautiful work that you did. And always, 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 folks, you must use color preserving, color safe products because you did all that hard work. You want to keep it delicious, juicy, vibrant, and poppy, okay? So let's take some Q&A. Thank you for hanging out here. Thank you for hanging out with me and letting me share some blonding tips with you. Oh my gosh, I see the questions coming up. Okay, Geraldine Gibson. Hello, gorgeous. Thank you for the question. Geraldine's question is, what can you do with stubborn gray? Y'all ready for this? I just shared this with a friend the other day. If you have stubborn gray hairs, I'm going to show you something called pre-softening. This is something that the pros do all the time. So if I know that your gray hair is mega resistant, okay? Number one, I would recommend getting your color in a double pigment series. So let's say you are using a level 6N natural. I want you to look for a 6NN, double N. The double N or the double V or the double B means there's double the amount of pigment available. A little caveat. The ion formulations are professional Italian-made formulations. So by nature, because they're so richly pigmented, your eye may view that as darker. So if you are using a double pigment series, you might want to level up to level 7 double NN, okay? That's number one. Number two, what you're going to do is you are going to take whatever developer you are using, usually 20 volume and above, to use with your permanent hair color, okay? You're going to put the developer alone into a bowl by itself. Then you are going to go along your hairline in those stubborn grays with only the developer, and you're just going to tap the developer. You're going to tap the developer onto those grays. This is called pre-softening. It's magic. It's delicious. It starts to open up the cuticle and the follicle. Then I want you to mix the color exactly as the manufacturer's directions say. And then you are going to apply it directly on top of that pre-softening developer that you did. Do not wipe it off. You're going to put that color on top. And Geraldine, you're going to have your grays covered, girl. Okay? Great question. Absolutely. Any other? Asia May. Asia May, hello. How does a bond multiplier differ from a bond sustainer? Same thing. They're all the same thing. Bond multipliers multiply the amount of bonds, and they also sustain. So they hang on to the bonds. They need to utilize the bonds inside of the cortex of the hair. And we're adding additional bonds so that the chain of amino acids is stronger. So bond multiplier, bond sustainer, it's kind of all the same thing. You're taking the bonds and we're adding more bonds so that they're fused together and they create a tighter chain so that your hair stays strong. But remember, too much protein is not a good thing. Too much protein is when you pull your hair and it snaps off. We need the elasticity. So if you're using a lot of protein, your hair care should include some moisture to bring back the balance and the harmony in the hair. Any other questions here? Danny, any tips on doing the back of your own hair? I always miss spots. When it comes to coloring your own hair, one of the most forgotten tools of the trade is a mirror, okay? Is a mirror. Sally Beauty, I was just in my Sally Beauty store here in Queens yesterday. There are gigantic square mirrors. You have to use a mirror because ain't no way to see the back of your head. I also have a 3-way medicine cabinet thing, so I open them all up, and I also hold a mirror. So you might need to set up a tray so that you have something to dip from product. If you're going to look for those results at home, you got to set up like a pro, okay? The other thing is have a friend over as long as it's COVID safe, you're wearing a mask, and you're following PPP protocols. Oh, okay, great question, Danny. Any other questions? Emily, oh my God, you guys, Emily Boleyn is on. She is part of our Sally crew. She created that incredible developer video. And girl, I love you too. Since we're talking about the Sally crew is an incredible group of fantastic unicorns and human beings delivering content and DIY to you. We just want you to get better hair and better results at home. And we absolutely love creating for you. So make sure you follow the Sally crew and drop into our DMs. Ask us questions. We are here to serve you. We are here to help you get better results at home. So reach out to us. Follow me at Gregory Patterson here on Instagram. Follow Emily, Asia May, Charity Grace. Like, come be a part of the crew. Let me check the chat here. Okay, we're going to wrap it up. So, that concludes class number 1, blonding basics at home. I hope that you learned something. We went through a lot of information, I know. This video will be saved for you to come back to. Feel free, and I genuinely mean that, feel free to reach out to me. Drop into my DMs on Instagram at Gregory Patterson Hair. I want to help you get better hair at home, okay? If I don't have the answer, I'm going to team up with one of my mates on the Sally crew team, and we're going to find the answer for you. Also, what do you want to know about? What do you want to learn? Drop in and give me some ideas. Leave a comment on this video as to what you might want to see from the DIY University by Sally Beauty. We love creating for you, okay? And I also want to share 2 more things. Any of these products, you can always shop safely at sallybeauty.com. You can always shop the app like I do. You can go through, pick all the products that you need, and you can put them in a cart and pick up in store. So that's a super safe way, if you're not comfortable yet going out, for our Sally team associates to help you find and pull your product, okay? So also, when you are in stores, please give a high five to our teammates. I was in store yesterday. The associates are there to help us and give us, lead us in the right direction. So ask questions. We're here to help you. Again, we all want you to have better hair at home. And lastly, I want to say that I know right now so many of us are feeling elevated. Our levels of anxiety are up, our fear levels are up, and beauty might seem like something that's not important right now. Okay. But I want to share this with you. Beauty and self care is one of the most estimable acts that you can give yourself. And even if it is a 5-minute conditioning treatment on your own in a beautiful bubble bath, or getting some beautiful cuticle oil to just give your beautiful, able body some love back, I want to give you permission to dip into beauty, dip into self care, and it is okay to have fun with beauty right now. Even though it seems like in the scheme of things, it's unimportant, loving and taking care of yourself is one of the greatest acts of self-love. And I want you to know from me to you, you are worth it. You deserve it. And you have every right to look and feel beautiful. So I just wanted to leave you with that. We're all in this together. I love you so much. I am so grateful that you spent this time with us, letting me share some blonding basics. I have another class on March 16th. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors, share these videos, leave us some comments in the section. And thank you so much. And don't forget, always shop stylybeauty.com 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or go on the app. And that's it. Thank you very much. Love you all. Enjoy the rest of your day. And here's to better hair at home. Oh, we'll see you.